all the kings and queens. Welcome to the Make Jazz Trill Again podcast. I am your host, Melanie Charles.
And I'm your co-host, Yunie Mojica.
Yes! Welcome.
Our first episode.
I'm so excited. We've been wanting to do this, but we kind of sped up so that we can be part of the special time, the Winter Jazz Fest season. But we have a couple of episodes in store, but this is our first one. And before we get into what Trill means and what we're interested in exploring in this conversation, I want to introduce you guys to my beautiful friend, Yunie Mojica, who is, I feel like you're the secret sauce in New York City. You've been the secret sauce for so many years, Yunie. Right now, Yunie is currently directing of
I'm programming manager at Harlem Stage. Yes.
And I know this very well because you gracefully invited me to perform at Harlem Stage a few weeks ago, and that was really dope. But people may not know that you have been at the center of the performances I keep saying Make Jazz Trill again. Yes! You've been at the center of the performances at Jazz and Lincoln Center for a number of years.
Yeah, I've been there I was there for about 7 years. And really, they helped nurture my growth in terms of programming and concert administration as well. So they really nurtured me in terms of my growth in getting a lot of those skills together. And for a few years, I was part of the programming team, mostly for Dizzy's Club.
Yeah, and thanks to you, you helped provide a space for famous jazz musicians all over the world, but also jazz musicians in New York who are up and coming. You know, I feel like you're connected in the scene, so you're able to always bring in, people that may be overlooked or that people are not hip to. I think it's really important work that you've done there over the years, so I appreciate you. But also, it's beautiful because you're also a musician,
yes,
okay? Incredible saxophonist, incredible vocalist. Yunie, you got your Grammy nominated. That's crazy.
It blows my mind. It really blows my mind, the fact that I was part of Jasmine Horn's record that she just recently released.
What's the name of the tune again?
The name of her album is Jasmine Horn and Her Noble Force.
Yes.
And the track on that album that I composed is entitled Mia, which means purpose. And it's one of the principles of Kwanzaa.
That song is so beautiful. I went to see her perform at Joe's Pub a few weeks ago, and she did that song, and she was like, yes, and this was written by Yunie Mojica. And I was like, what?
I'd be hiding. What can I say?
And then a few weeks later, they announced the Grammy nomination.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. That composition is very special in its own right because I didn't do it on my own. It was a suite that both Raynell Frazier and I had written together when we were
Shout out to Raynell Frazier.
When we were at the Jackie McLean Institute studying music. And we came together at a time where we needed each other and we wanted to uplift our community and celebrate Kwanzaa. So that in itself is what lent me to be in that position. And Jasmine Horn is such an incredible vocalist and musician and force. She said her noble force, but right. She really is the force in that. So yeah.
And something that I loved about what Jasmine said when she introduced the song, she said that something that she loved about you is that you're always so supportive to women in jazz, genuinely, and so encouraging. And I think it's beautiful that we're able to have this conversation because it connects to this is the movement that the folks over at Winter Jazz have organized, where it's exploring how to create safe spaces, how to have equity,
how to provide space to musicians across the board, regardless of your gender, and Black musicians as well.
Yeah.
So that's big.
Yeah, and so I'm happy that we're able to, explore these topics in the spirit of Trill.
Yes.
You know?
So what is the spirit of Trill?
So Trill, people always ask me be like, what is Trill?
Yeah.
You know, the way I feel about it is Trill means it's for the streets, it's for the people, it's anti-institution. And I believe that there was a time when jazz was really trill and people were playing it at house parties, at rent parties.
Right.
You know, when it was when it was pop.
This music was created by our people. So
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that there's an interesting divide happening in music and specifically maybe in jazz where there are people who are interested in following a very straight line, which that's fine because there's a place for that.
That's okay.
But then there are the people who are trill, you know, and trill is timeless. I feel like there's a couple of cats from back from the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s. We'll talk about that later that are trill. So yeah, this is what the Make Jazz Trill Again podcast is about, is exploring all of these conversations in the spirit of trill. And I don't know, do you think that we should...
I do want people to know who you are.
Okay, that's true. Okay.
We can't just talk about me and not talk about you, the creator of this whole concept. And
I'm gonna sit.
Take the sip. But in case y'all don't know, Melanie Charles is an incredible vocalist, writer, composer, educator in her own right, and flautist as well. And who just recently released an incredible album on the Verve record label, entitled "Y'all Don't Really Care About Black Women." And what you have done on that album and leading up to this point is absolutely incredible. If you want to check out the album, go check it out. But you really laid a foundation of the past and highlighting incredible women that trill. Like Billie Holiday, Betty Carter, Sarah Vaughan, and you brought them into your sound, and you also put yourself into the album as well, and you did it in a way that is very true to yourself, but also true to our generation too. So you represent that in so many ways, which you embody trill as well as try to present the concept of trill and what that really means. So thank you. And that's who Melanie Charles is.
I appreciate that. You know, and even going a step further to trill, I think something that connects us is that we are open to making music and performing and engaging with spaces that are not traditional straight ahead jazz spaces. Like, you're so trill, Yunie. Like, when I saw you play with your brother a few months ago at Public Records, it was like, whoa. It like opened up a different gateway in the way I saw you and the way I experienced, even though I've known you for years.
Right.
I was like, dang, Yunie is really about that life.
I do gotta shout out my brother Ace Mo.
Yeah, shout out to Ace Mo.
That's another trill. He's trill too.
He's super trill.
Yes, his origins are and foundation are in jazz, and he went to SUNY Purchase, and he also studied with John Faddis.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's taken a whole turn and really discovered electronic music, and is paving a whole way for a whole lot of other musicians in that realm, and shedding a lot of light to the origins of techno music and melding it with all different types of genres and really pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
And our group, Sonic Messengers, which there's no mistake that the name is reminiscent of our Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. It's very, that's very intentional.
Hey, I know what I was doing.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So for those of you who don't want to know what we do, there's two DJs, Ace Mo being one of them, and the other is DJ Seville as well. And I perform with them with my saxophone, of course, and vocals. And we also have Chanel John sit in too as well. And you even sang
that was
fun. The too.
That was fun. But I was more interested in being your groupie than singing. I was like, I'm just here to shout you out, Yunie. But something that was revealed to me after the album dropped. It's the new year, and I was like, dang, I really need to find a way to also uplift and encourage other women in jazz. I think that for those of us who have access, the space, the resources, as women, specifically women of color, we need to always like
bring each other
into the fold.
That's right. All right, we're gonna introduce our special guest, a very special guest, who is a vibraphonist, composer, arranger, educator, and who just recently released her first debut album, Black Wall Street. So let's give it up for Nikara Warren.
Woo, Nikara! Hey girl, hey girl. I love how we all are rocking the braids out here. You know, the black girl magic happening.
You gotta hit them with a protector style in the winter.
That's you know what I'm saying?
So I can wear a hat.
Exactly, thank you.
Right. How are you feeling? I know you had a long day because you recorded your Winter Jazz set earlier today.
Yeah. I'm a little tired, but I'm honestly, this woke me up. So I'm blessed to be here.
Well, you're blessing us by being here.
No, I'm feeling very grateful to be in this space. These are the things that I've been hoping for. So, thank you.
Y'all sounded really beautiful.
Thank you.
We were out there like jamming, like yes.
Thank you.
Nick, you've come a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's been, I think for me, it's like I know that I just can't stop. So we just gotta keep going, and whatever happens, just feel grateful for it and play. Shit, that's all I want to do is just play.
That's right. I love what you do. I love the band that you bring to the table. It's not traditional by any means, in my opinion, but it is traditional at the same time because you keep the tradition of the music and you bring yourself to the table at the same time. You challenge a lot of things that are norms, especially when it comes to jazz education and everything like that. Yeah. So, first question I wanted to ask you was, what inspired the name of your band, Black Wall Street? Which to me it's obvious, but not everybody knows how deep that is.
It's funny because I've gone through a lot of stages of what I feel about representing this event, because that really is what it is. When I started the band, it was 6 years ago, 7 years, a long time ago. And it wasn't that was not the band name. That was the name of the repertoire that I created. So I was writing a bunch of music, and I was like, yo, this is that Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And I saw everything was going in a folder called Black Wall Street, but because I was presenting this project that was Black Wall Street, which is why it's Nikara Presents Black Wall Street, people kind of just started calling the band that, and then that became the record, and then, but I think I started that set of music because I learned about the event, the Greenwood area of Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. And just couldn't believe, because I went to a progressive private school in New York City,
what school is that?
Are we going to shout them out right now? Shout out to the Berkeley Carroll School.
Okay.
Park Slope.
Okay, Park Slope.
Park Slope, dope. But just the fact that you got people spending how many dollars, tens of thousands of dollars a year, and we're not learning this. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And so for me, it was all right, if you're gonna, I'm out here just trying to learn and trying to make music, and I love to write. That's really I love to write. So. If that's what you're going to do, you want to write and you want to play these tunes, we might as well make sure that people learn about this. So, cool, let's call this repertoire Black Wall Street. We'll let them know about the music, and hopefully people will go home and just, put it in Google. You know what I mean? And that was sort of the goal. Luckily, in that amount of time, people have learned about it. It's been, in major TV shows.
And they just came up on the 95th anniversary?
100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, so, so I feel grateful. I also feel like a lot of what I wanted was sort of realized, in the time that I started that. A lot of people learned about it, how much I had to do with it, who knows, but I know that there are a lot of people that tell me, I know about Black Wall Street because of the group. So that was just what I was hoping for, that people would learn, and you know, that's always been the goal of when I play and make music. You know.
So you just dropped the album. I am on the album. I'm very proud to say.
Yes, so dope. So dope.
I love your writing. Like, it was really great learning to sing Mona Lisa, and I love the 2 versions on there.
Yeah,
you got me, and then it's your cousin, right?
My sister, my stepsister.
Your stepsister. I love her singing.
So she's super dope.
How does it feel?
She loves you. You know, she's like.
I was like, man, her version's better than mine.
Why did you do 2? So why did you do 2 versions? Well, the song that we're talking about is Mona Lisa, for those of you who don't know. But now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah. No, the 2 versions I had to do. I wrote the music in that, like I said, in that same set of repertoire, but didn't ever really think, especially like you're writing these like singer-songwriter songs, and I kind of like still kind of have a bunch of them in this chamber, and like it's difficult to figure out because I play vibraphone, and I've never really like considered myself a vibraphonist. I just feel like that's the instrument that, you know, the universe and God led me to, and that's how I get everything that is there out.
That is a good point. How did you end up with the vibes?
That was just, it was like divine intervention almost. Like, it was like I was a kid, I was getting into, I listened to a lot of saxophone players, a lot of tenor players. Like, that was like my thing. Listened to a lot of horn players and like really into the music, and you know, randomly would be listening to, you know, John Coltrane records, and then hearing Milt Jackson records, and like just getting into things, and then at the same time that I'm digging in and being, you know, that like you're in that teenage kind of time, you know, where like we always go back to that time.
We're just nostalgia of that.
My grandfather was playing with Stefan Harris.
We gotta say who your grandfather is.
Oh, yes. He's a pianist by the name of Kenny Barron.
Kenny Barron just happens to be
a legend.
Yes. Incredible person. But yeah, he was playing with Stefan. So like, I was in band and like listening to all these records, and then, you know, kind of going through, it just all kind of happened at the same time, and then like going to see him, and then he was playing with Stefan, and I was like, whoa, like, I know I'm not a horn player, like, you know, like I knew I wasn't a horn player, but I always played drums, and I always like messed around on piano, and so it just
drums and piano,
exactly,
and the privilege of going to being a scholarship kid and going to that very fancy private school is that there was a vibraphone and a marimba at the school, so I used to mess around, and then it just, you know, they started breaking out like Lionel Hampton charts and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, you know.
Stefan Harris is one of your mentors.
Yes. Younger, when I was younger, like that was sort of when I really was first starting. I learned a lot from him.
You also mentioned like checking a lot of records out with John Coltrane, Jackson.
Yeah.
You sit down and check out records with your grandfather a lot.
We do listen to music, but it's more so like if we're traveling. But sometimes if he's cooking, there are like certain times where we'll listen to things, and then he'll just have like, you know, he's got stories, or
that's dope,
you know, or he'll hear things and be like, who is that? You know, because we're obviously in very different generations. So like we don't, you know, I'll be listening to something. He's like, what's that?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh, that's Krungman. You don't know about, like, you know, like, he's
you put him on the thing.
He's into, you know, he's into the stuff that I like, so that I've always found that to be super dope.
I feel like his last album is so modern sounding.
Yeah.
It's like, huh? Yeah. Like, what are you listening to, sir? Like,
so the record the track that he's on your album, Gritty BK.
Heather Gray.
Heather Gray. Yes. What? Can you talk about that composition too?
Yeah. I originally wrote that as a strings, like a strings ballad kind of thing. And I was, you know, it was like my first like heartbreak as an adult. And the song originally had lyrics. It's also Heather Gray and so deceiving. Kisses on my face as we dance beneath the stars. Next day you're gone again. Black in my heart again. So it was like that was the vibe. But you know what? I brought that tune. This is, you know, I brought that tune to Betty Carter when I was in the Betty Carter Jazz Ahead. Not Betty Carter. Yeah, but for some reason when I brought it there, like I just was like, we're not gonna play this ballad, but we're gonna like put a little groove on it, and so that it grew there, and that was the first tune, the earliest tune of that set of music. And you know, it's like we don't got heartbreak tunes, you know, but like as a heartbreak tune, that's really my favorite one because it evolved with the heartbreak. You know, like
So, you know, something that I think is a reoccurring theme when we talk about gender and jazz and the jazz community, women in jazz, you know, I feel like the past few years, that's a conversation that we've been having a lot. And people are always, I think, curious about the experience of being a female band leader. What is that for you? Like, is it even a thing? For me, I have to say it's not a thing for me. Like,
I agree.
For me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm blessed to not really be encountered with so much challenges. But I know that some people's experiences are different. Everyone has a different experience. What has been your experience as a band leader writing this music for mainly an all-male band and engaging in the industry as a woman? Like, what's it been like for you?
You know, I think in a lot of ways I agree with you. There are many parts of it. Like we surround ourselves with people that we love. And if we love them, then they're obviously not the type of people that are going to make
you feel like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So largely it's just what it is. It's great. You know what I mean? I feel like I lend a different perspective. So I feel wonderful about it. I think in the industry in general, there are, of course, times there are many spaces in music and in the industry that you get there and you have to kind of like remind, because someone might talk to you crazy or someone, you know, you know, or just, why are you, you know, I remember being at sessions and having someone be like, oh, get off the stage. We can't have any extra people on the stage. You're like, you know, you're just like, what extra people on the stage?
Right.
I'm in the band.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so like, of course we come to expect those things, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I mean, I hate that we have to take this perspective, but it is what it is. It's like, I can't stop my whole life and give up because people are going to always say that. You know? So it is tough. It can be tough. I think like, you know, specifically being in jazz, like it can be tough because there is there's a lot of testosterone based aspects. Yeah. And I hate to say it like that, but this is me just being real.
I mean, that's what we like to do at the Make Jazz Trill Again podcast. Is keep it real. So please.
You know, I totally you spoke on testosterone energy and being in it, and coming up for me, it was like I had to present that energy more and hide my feminine side.
Right.
So, if you're gonna, a lot of times in my experience, if I was going to present myself on stage, I would have to either expose more femininity if I was a vocalist,
right,
or if I'm going to be playing with a horn, I got to be a little bit more masculine because of the type of energy that you're bringing to the stage when you're soloing, because you do have to be aggressive. So that kind of, I totally get what you're saying in terms of.
But then I guess for me, sometimes I'm like, but why do you? That for me has always been the struggle of like, why is it that like for me to play, why can't I just like create a new lane where I explore freely
what that is,
what that is and where I'm at? I suppose you can, but you know.
It's a lot more challenging when you don't fit into a specific box.
Oh, yeah.
Or a way of presenting. You know, are you the sexy vocalist? Are you the masculine female drummer?
Right.
Are you know what I mean? Like there's all these like assignments.
Right.
And it's just so corny, but I think that we're living in a time where women like you, people like myself are like, listen, this is who we are. Take us for who we are.
Yeah.
And let's move forward. Like we don't got no time.
Right. And a lot of that comes from Trill. Exactly. And a lot of times you'll have people focus mostly on marketing. So like, what's selling you and on this, that, like all those types of things. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well, not just in jazz, just overall being what it means to be an artist. And a lot of times people like things being clearly defined. But thank God for where we're at now, where a lot of that is being challenged. Conversations like this and conversations that are happening constantly, you know, through social media and all those types of things. There's a yin and a yang when it comes to social media. There's good, take the good with the bad as well. So
yeah,
I don't want to digress.
But
go on a tangent, but
we've been having such a good time, but it's almost time for us to wind down.
It is.
But every episode at the Winter Jazz FestRecorded podcast, we want to do a Trill pop quiz.
Trill pop quiz.
Okay, right? I see your face. So Yunie, like, what's the first question?
The first question is name 3 women who Trill.
3 Trill women?
3 Trill women. In your opinion.
In life?
Right, in life jazz. Or in jazz?
Oh, okay. In jazz? Oh, we're talking about Betty Carter. Betty Carter.
Yes!
The Trillist. Marion McPartland.
Ooh.
Dorothy Ashby.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's underrated.
She is.
Yeah.
Those will be my Trill jazz ones.
Who would be yours?
I said Betty Carter too. She was number one.
Right.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah,
She's
a
Betty
queen,
Carter.
Thug.
Yeah.
Abby Lincoln and Jerry Allen.
Yes.
So
Betty Carter was mine as well.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
Marlena Shaw.
Yes.
She's still alive. Shout out to Marlena Shaw. And Nina Simone. She a thug too, y'all.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That's not even a joke.
You know?
What? Not even a joke.
Woman of the Earth. Salt of the Earth.
Yeah.
This is good.
Okay, you have another Trill question?
What was the other Trill question? It was name. This is more personal. Name one person who is instrumental in your the development of where you watch it.
One person instrumental. I'm like, can I say me?
Yes, you can. I'd like to say me.
If it had to be someone else, I would say. I mean, because I feel like there's so many people. There's so many people. I would say Steve Nelson. And what's funny is that Steve Nelson and I don't really know each other well. I think we've exchanged emails 1 or 2 times, but that's a player that throughout a lot of years, and for myself, like I said, I have a very interesting relationship with the vibraphone and feeling do I play this or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just like music, and I can, I like to produce and I like to do a lot of things, but playing the vibraphone is a really weighted thing. It takes a lot of work. But that's a player that I've always felt embodied a couple of different worlds that I always loved, because I always loved these very melodic players, but also love these players that can move out in these different ways too. And I, so I would say over the years, because even though I don't know him, over the years, my relationship with the music has changed with how I feel about him as a player. So, yeah.
I love that.
That's dope.
A+.
A+. All right, you passed the Trill pop quiz. Yay! 100!
I'm surprised.
You were worried though.
Yeah, no, I was worried. I was like, oh no.
Great.
I was like, let me think of every record I've ever.
Right, like, well,
what's yours? No.
Well, okay, let me see if I keep. I don't know. We're gonna have to save that for another episode.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to sit on that one.
Yeah,
we put you on the spot, but
it's all good.
We are running out of time, but I guess do you want to say?
That's an easy question for me.
Go ahead.
It's Jackie McLean.
Yeah, I knew you're a J-Mac.
I know, I'm a J-Mac baby.
Yeah,
what can I say?
J-Mac fan.
When I pick up the saxophone, I hear him.
Yeah.
So, and from the music that I write, the music that I play, to my theology, how I see and hear music, and just the foundation of knowing that this music is black. So, all of that.
Yeah.
This comes from him. I wouldn't be doing what I am today if it wasn't for him.
Shout out to Jackie McLean.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that is very true. Last night, I got to celebrate my friend China Moses' birthday, who's going to be a guest on this podcast in the future. Her mother is the wonderful Queen Dee Dee Bridgewater.
Yes.
And I got to meet Dee Dee Bridgewater last night. And one thing I guess I want to leave y'all with, I was like, Dee Dee, like, the jazz scene is a different scene than what it was when I was in college and I was aspiring to be a vocalist. Like, now it's just like, what is this? Like, I don't even want this now. And she was like, do not hold on to what you thought it was going to be. Like, go with the changes, go with the flow.
Ooh.
And I was like, thank you, Dee Dee, thank you so much.
That's
so, right, like, I needed to hear that. So hopefully, sharing that with you guys, you listeners out there, that resonates with you. All the creatives, all the musicians, all the movers and shakers out there. We are so resilient. We've had to be resilient the past few years. And let's just flow with the changes like jazz. You know what I'm saying? Nikara, thank you so much for sitting with us.
This is fun for having me.
You are a divine queen. Y'all, please get the album. Nikara Warren presents Black Wall Street. It's available everywhere.
It is.
You get it on Bandcamp, because then you get all the money.
You get all the money.
Yeah.
Do you have any vinyls or hard copies?
I got some hard copies. Get
you some hard copies, right?
You can also go to www.nikarawarren.com.
Yes. Nikara presents Black Wall Street.
Yes.
And my name is Melanie Charles.
My name is Yunie Mojica.
And whatever you do, remember to make
jazz trill again.
Peace!
Bye, y'all.
Peace. I love it.